Fiona, sort of tell everyone a bit about the business and your involvement.
I've been involved with the property sector now for over 35 years. And more recently, since about 1995, I've been involved with the elderly care home sector. And a few years ago, my husband's mother needed to go into a care home, and we found it very difficult to find the right place for her. But at least we had the experience and we knew what sort of questions to ask. What we're finding now is that fewer people have that experience, and it's a very daunting prospect to be looking for a care home for an elderly relative perhaps, or just, a parent. And so we felt that there was the gap in the market there and people needed help. So,
Yeah, no, I really think they do. Even more so at that time, they really need some sort of hand holding. And I think everyone's sort of aware that this is a growing concern. We've got an aging population. I mean, is that sort of a fair comment, I guess?
Absolutely. I think people are living longer. They're generally healthier as they get older. But then we found out this week that over 200,000 people per year are diagnosed with dementia, and it's probably that stage where a lot of elderly people feel that they can't cope at home, even with carers coming in.
Yeah. And how do you go about the process? Because obviously, if you're living at other ends of the country to your relative and they're looking at possibly contemplating going into care, what can you actually do? Because I think this is actually a really important point. Because I don't know anyone else that does what you do.
Yeah, well, we help people who maybe have the long distances to cover, because it's very time consuming. If you're looking for a care home for somebody who's at the other end of the country or even overseas, a lot of our clients have children who are abroad, and so it's very, very difficult. It's costly. They've got to come over to the particular region that they're looking for the care home. They need their hands holding, really, and we can do that research for them. We can provide reports for them. We can take the relative into a care home to have a look round when they might not be available to do so.
How does this sort of all work into fees? I mean, everyone talks about sort of care homes and the costs involved. What does it actually equate to in sort of real terms, and how do you sort of look at the financing of it, if that's an option?
Well, the vast majority of people will be self-funding because they'll probably have assets in excess of £23,250, which is the current threshold.
Right.
So if they own a house, then obviously they're going to have to self-fund their care. The care home fee rates are going up all the time. The average is probably around about the £600 to £700 per week.
Wow.
And that can go up, depending on what type of care is required, to £1,200 a week if they're needing nursing care and potential dementia care. And it does vary around the country. Down in the south, around London, you could be talking over £2,000 a week.
I mean, that's some serious expenditure, and I guess on the back of that, are you able to provide sort of financial and legal advice, or do you know the right people, or how does that side of things work?
We know the right people to signpost our clients in their direction. So we have a panel of reputable IFAs and solicitors who specialise in the elderly care sector.
Great. So again, it's all part of the service, and
absolutely
sort of holding the client's hand. Yeah. And I mean, I personally don't know of anyone else. I mean, is there anyone else out there that offers this sort of service? I can't believe there is, but
there aren't any in the Yorkshire area that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
There are one or two people who do a similar sort of service elsewhere around the country. They're quite difficult to find. We offer a national service to shortlist and analyse care homes all around the UK and carry out research, and it's up to date and it's unbiased. You'll find that a lot of websites actually take advertising from the care homes, so inevitably those care homes are going to feature closer to the top of their recommendation list. We don't recommend, we just provide the information for people to make an educated decision.
And I'm assuming if you've got a specialist requirement of onset dementia, to name one of them. I guess there are specific types of care homes that one should and should not look at, and you're able to sort of guide people and differentiate between, I suppose, the pros and the cons of that.
Yes, in the main, you've got residential care, you've got nursing care, and then you've got both of those with dementia as well. And there might be other homes that offer facilities for people with Parkinson's disease or other requirements for that person. So we can make sure that the homes that we look at and shortlist for the clients are relevant to their particular needs.
And you're able to help, I'm assuming, with gaining access to these. I know there's sometimes waiting lists for some of the better ones. Is there anything that you can work on that side, or is it providing the information, or how does that work? Because
we are familiar with the system, we can very often speed the process up, which means that obviously if there are waiting lists, then we don't jump the queue, but obviously we can perhaps pull a few strings in the right area. And the other aspect that we can help people with is to potentially negotiate a reduction in the fee rates, because they're not always set in stone.
Aren't they? That's a very valid point. I thought it was a set rate. I think most people would assume it is what it is. I didn't realise it was sort of, again, like buying a house, you can negotiate. I thought it was a set thing.
No, if you know how to negotiate, as we do, then you can save quite a lot of money. And when you're talking about £1,000 or thereabouts, then it's good if you can get to even 5% off.
Yeah, no, makes all the difference on that sort of scale. And obviously, I'm assuming that's one of the pitfalls. But what are the other sort of possible areas that you need to be mindful of when looking at a care home?
Well, a little bit like yourself, when you're looking for properties and you see all the glossy brochures, you know what to look for behind the scenes. And care homes, in the main, have lovely glossy brochures with happy smiling faces, but behind the scenes there could be all sorts of things hidden, and we know what to look for. We also when we go round the homes, we actually see how the carers engage with the clients. It's not just about the surroundings. You might have a beautiful home with a nice large bedroom with a lovely ensuite, but you might find that there are elderly people dotted around with no engagement with the staff at all, and that leads to depression and ill health.
And that's the area that obviously always gets into the news, and it's, as you said, it's looking beyond that glossy brochure, as you do on my side with property, and seeing what's happening behind the scenes. And obviously very, very similar, that you're under a lot of pressure. Obviously, you're trying to source the right care home, and sometimes you could come across as quite blinkered in your approach. You almost need a third party like yourself to sort of see through all of that and guide you in the right direction.
I mean, the Care Quality Commission provide reports, but sometimes they might only happen once a year, and things change. So because our information is bang up to date, then we know that home on that particular day might be either better or worse than it appeared in the report.
Quite, absolutely. And I suppose the obvious question is how much your services cost.
We have a free service initially for the shortlisting of up to 30 care homes or nursing homes in a specific area, and thereafter it's really now a question of bespoke service. But put it this way, it's actually a lot cheaper than the weekly fees.